Jesus Christ! Sauce looked like it needed a little more meat.
Hey, what's up everyone? Paul from Great House Fun House, and today I want to talk about another favorite blaxploitation movie of mine, written, produced, and directed by one of the greats from that era, Larry Cohen, and that is for 1973's Black Caesar. It is your fairly standard rise and fall story of a hoodlum with big ambitions named Tommy Gibbs, played by Fred Williamson, who was at his most charismatic playing the Black Kingpin or Caesar, which is never mentioned in the movie, but it is a callback to 1931's gangster movie Little Caesar, starring Edward G. Robinson, which Larry Cohen was a fan of and wanted to do his own version starring black actors, which starts with him as a young kid in 1953 Harlem, making money giving shoe shines and gets involved in a mob hit. And after is told to bring an envelope full of money to a crooked racist cop named McKinney. McKinney accuses him of stealing $50 out of that envelope and beats the shit out of him, breaking his leg. While in the hospital, he already tells his brainy friend that when he gets out of this rap in a few years, he'll need him to start his business.
I want you to learn how to use money, where to put it, so you end up with more than you started with. Then when I get out and I've started my business, you'll be with me.
Sure.
We fast forward to 1965 when Tommy takes it upon himself to execute a mob hit to get in the good graces of the Italian mob and ask his boss not to give him a job, but to give him one full block to call his territory.
What do you want with that street? That's not shit. I'll make it work. Hey. Who says spooks don't have any ambition?
We cut to him strutting to James Brown, just cool as fuck, making his presence known. We go through a montage of him taking care of business, and then we meet his childhood friend played by Derville Martin, who made half a dozen movies with Fred Williamson in the 70s, who plays here a preacher. It's explained to us that all the shakedown money and illegal gains they'll acquire, they'll siphon through his parish, so that way nothing is connected to Tommy.
When we shake folks down, they're not going to pay Tommy. They're going to support my religious organization, and it all goes into a fund. And we don't even have to hide the monies that we make from hookers and the numbers. And we report it and use it tax-free.
They meet with a lawyer that's pretty well connected with City Hall to discuss ledgers that exist to keep track of payoffs made to cops, councilmen, and congressmen. Those ledgers are the key for Tommy to gain control and become the crime boss he wants to be. Once those are acquired, he does need a man on the police force to make sure that everything he does, they look the other way and nothing gets pinned to him, and when you know it, it's that racist piece of shit cop McKinney, who's now a captain and runs the most important precinct in Manhattan, that he seeks out to have his best interests at heart and pays him handsomely for his troubles.
You gave me my education, now I'm gonna put your kids through college.
Best of luck with the Dow Jones, and good afternoon, Captain.
From then on, it's seeing Gibbs eliminating his competition from the mob boss we saw earlier give him his first shot. And then going after the rest of the members in that Italian mob family in California in a great shootout scene done at Larry Cohen's house. He used it a lot in his movies, you know, free filming location and all that. Then for the rest of the movie, we witness his inevitable fall when the whites helping him behind the scenes don't need him anymore and tries to get rid of him. Black Caesar was a great showcase for Fred Williamson's talent as an actor. Of all the big tough guys in those roles, think of Jim Brown, Jim Kelly, Richard Roundtree, Ron O'Neal. He definitely one of them in the acting department. For Tommy, it was about money and power and to do good for the community, which they'll say they'll do something about, but nothing really comes of it. Despite or because of all the racism and abuse he had to deal with, as a character, he's a real piece of shit that's pretty hard to root for. That's because he barely can trust anyone around him, and this entire being is fueled by vengeance and anger. And all this to say that Williamson portrays that really well. It was also a great showcase for Larry Cohen, just his talents as a formidable storyteller. He could do so much with so little. He was the master at stealing shots, guerrilla filmmaking at his best. Permits to shoot on the streets of New York is for suckers. If he wanted to shoot a scene of a cab driving on a sidewalk, he knew that people would just get out of the way. That was a pretty ballsy thing for Larry to do. He was really good thinking on the fly and had a good eye for how to shoot in his hometown to make it exciting and vibrant. And side note, if you don't know anything about Larry Cohen, but you're curious about his career in cinema, I highly recommend you watch the documentary King Cohen. It's a fun and breezy viewing, and you get to learn about this crazily talented and fascinating guy. Another standout for me acting-wise was Gloria Hendry playing Tommy's girl. Some of the scenes she gets put through, like Tommy raping her at some point, which is uncomfortable to watch, or when she hooks up with Tommy's brainy friend and watch him beat him up, she really puts her all in those scenes.
Babe. Oh, baby. I hate him. I hate him for hurting you.
Makes it almost too real, you know? When everything starts crumbling down towards the end for Tommy and they go after him in the streets of New York, they do this live on busy New York streets, people unaware that they're being filmed. So on one hand, it's cool to see their reaction, which is almost none, like how typical New Yorkers would react, thinking something real happened. But on the other hand, I find it distracting because there's a lot of looks straight into the camera from those ordinary people, which kind of breaks the facade of what's happening. There's another scene where he walks on the streets and looks through a window of people getting their shoes shined, and you see him reminiscing about the bad old days. But what you also see in the reflection of that window is a crowd of people watching that scene being shot. So yeah, that kind of bugs me. Another thing that bugs me is there are a lot of teleporting to locations that happens from one scene to the next without an explanation, or time jumps that you'll feel like a couple scenes were left on the cutting room floor, or they never actually shot them. You will get a very satisfying ending with how Tommy deals with McKinney that must have been very exhilarating for Fred to shoot, and for the people who saw it in theaters at the time. That is almost completely ruined by the second ending we get, where we see Tommy still wounded and should have probably be passed out at that point or even dead from all the blood loss, to see his bombed out apartment complex to end up being beaten to death by a gang of kids stealing his shit. That sequence was originally cut from US prints because it tested so poorly, but ended up in the European version and was restored in the late 90s when it made its way to home video by mistake. And it is the version they've used ever since. Even Larry Cohen admitted it was a mistake ending the movie that way.
I said, well, I made a mistake. Can I fix it? He says, what do you mean fix it? The picture opens in New York in a couple of days. I'll go to New York and I'll cut off the last scene. He says, can you do that? I said, yeah, sure, don't worry about it. That was it. Picture opened, huge hit.
And that is why Tommy Gibbs was brought back in the sequel Hell Up in Harlem, and it's as if that ending never happened. Last thing that bugged me, that shot right here where McKinney handles that baby, it is very creepy. Just stop it. Of course, when I review a Blaxploitation movie, I'm gonna mention its score, and you can get any better than James Brown doing it. It feels like its own character in the movie and makes it even cooler to watch. Black Caesar and Slaughter's Big Ripoff, which also came out in 1973, were the only two score James Brown ever worked on. Even with some of its faults, I very much recommend you watch Black Caesar for the story itself. Even though it drags a bit in the middle, that tighter editing would have helped. There's one satisfying ending out of two you can root for. You have Fred Williamson in probably his career's best role, being a smooth, charismatic cat playing the Godfather of Harlem, which, by the way, nice touch by Larry to shoot Fred walking by a Godfather marquee, who gives you real pain and soul in his performance to what should feel like a cheap gangster movie. You got a strong supporting cast as well in Gloria Hendry, Derville Martin, Art Long, Julius Harris, and James Dixon rounding out this world. There's the James Brown score, and you get to experience gritty early 70s New York Larry Cohen style. Right now, Black Caesar is unavailable to stream for free, but you can see it through Amazon Prime and Apple TV. As for a Blu-ray release, the only one available in North America is through Olive Film, which is the one I have released in 2015. There's also a German release that came out in 2022 through Wicked Vision Media. So that was my review for Black Caesar. Go visit all my socials at Grindhouse Funhouse, like, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on Black Caesar and if you have a favorite Fred Williamson performance. More Blaxploitation movie reviews coming up soon, so stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll say to you, ciao bye for now.